Hey, Decathlon gamer, welcome back to F1 Manager, episode 49. Before we head to Australia, third race of the season, we're already coming off of our first win. Things are looking really good to start the year, but of course, we still don't have the best car. And the three parts that are the weakest, we've been continuing to, revolve around those and produce new parts, research-wise for quite a bit. Well, anyway, I've reached a pivotal point here where I have a decision to make, and I do think it's going to be a fairly easy call. So here's the thing: chassis. I have a month until we get into the new period where we're going to get additional wind tunnel time, etc. But I have the current research project, which it was a new rear wing, by the way, that we just finished. We're going to get that produced soon. We'll actually have it ready in time for Australia. Chassis next, without a doubt. But the other two research projects are going to be done still within this window. Like I said, we have about a month to go. So I would have to divide that remaining time into three projects, and this is all we would get out of it for the chassis. Now, the chassis makes slow gains, but producing new parts continually, it comes with a bit of a cost in doing so. So here's my decision. Even though doing this would only cost us 130,000, the manufacturing side and whatnot would negate a lot of what we could do. So I'm going to commit to fewer projects this season. It's not going to just be this continual revolution of three projects all the time. We are going to put a little bit, at least, into getting proper investment, because now that we've moved up the grid, now that we're fourth place, we do have less time to deal with. It's not a big deal as long as you handle it correctly, and I think handling it correctly in this case means a bigger upgrade for the chassis, because all this one really does is bring the airflow slightly up. I mean, 2.25% is it, and all that does is get us from last place in the chassis department to a step up from last place in airflow middle and nowhere else, by using all of the remaining allotted time, which means we would have to wait a week on some new projects until we get into the new window. This alone does bump us up a couple of spots at least. It's not a massive change, but believe me, it's a change. We're getting better than 3% in drag reduction. We're going all out on it. We might as well, especially if time is now becoming more of a useful piece for us. So we can put more into them, afford the cost of that, and just do fewer projects, but make them bigger projects. Engine cooling still, drag reduction and engine cooling are still the worst chassis on the grid, but at least the airflow middle is finally starting to climb out of the cellar and get more competitive, and we'll get there in future upgrades. This is an area that is the cheaper, easier way. Long term, it'll catch up. We focused on the big upgrades, the ones that made a bigger impact, and we're seeing the benefit of it as we've now won 3 races and are competing with the big 3. Now we just need to drag along these smaller upgrades that see or minor gains each time. So yes, okay, fine. We have the lead in the constructors. I have zero expectation that we remain there. That last race, that red flag, we made the right call at the right time, and way too many other cars just did not make the right call. So we get the double podium, including the win, and third place for Porsche, and we find ourselves very well placed 2 races in. The only noteworthy thing for me, though, is we have not had a season yet where all teams scored. We're 2 races into the year, and all teams have scored. I do believe that the rule changes from last year into this year are showing a closer field this season, and where Ferrari and Red Bull are clearly a step above, and we are in that in-between space as third best. I think from 4th on down to 10th is quite close. I mean, Mercedes ninth place, which is 2 points, is not representative of their pace, but at the same time, they are well off the pace, but they're very much caught up in the midfield. So I could expect a lot of back and forth, a lot of changes. Positionally, McLaren, I don't think McLaren is anywhere near as fast as the points they've managed to get so far in the season, but they've been making some better strategy calls than other teams, and it's been to their benefit. With condition falling off for the car park test center, the next upgrade is 8 million. Compared to the refurbished fee, it makes total sense to just go ahead and get on with the next upgrade. Albert Park, without a lot of long straight sections, it's good. It's flowy corners or slow corners, and we are good at both. Last season we saw our first ever podium in the rain here at Albert Park, and that was absolutely huge. And I believe in the first season it was also one of our occasions that we managed to score a point. In fact, I think it was that fastest lap that we had that first year late on when we really pushed and squeezed our way into 10th place. We'll see what we can do this year. How competitive will we be? I think a podium like what we did last season, dry or not, is got to be the expectation by this point. Before we jump into the race, it looks like a lot of teams have brought upgrades here to Australia. We are back down to last place in speed. Our DRS has dropped back down at least one spot in the grid. Our cornering is no longer at the top. In fact, it's down to 4th. So there are 3 cars that have overtaken us. I'm assuming that's 2 teams, with one team producing enough parts only to get on one car, where the other team has put it on both cars. High speed also slipping a little bit down. Well, no, we were already 7th. So it's just the low speed, medium speed. But we'll see. Like I said, high speed wise, we're actually not quite at the top, are we? So maybe a podium in the dry would be ambitious. We'll hope that circumstances lean that way, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if we're only looking somewhere around 5th and 6th for this race.
Welcome to Melbourne for a weekend of fierce competition. We're a stone's throw from the beach here at the Albert Park circuit. It might be party mood in the grandstands, but in the paddock, expectations and tensions are high. The Albert Park circuit is bursting with rapid corners and a long straight where drivers can push their speed to the limits. Good attention to medium speed downforce will likely make beating this beast of a track just a little bit easier. At this early stage in the season, there are still plenty of opportunities for things to change. In this sport, there simply are no guarantees. Let the weekend begin!
Plenty of rain expected for the weekend, but not on Sunday. Sunday looks clear. Therefore, practice is going to use up all those wet compounds. We're going to have plenty of tires at full strength ready to go for Sunday. Could make qualifying interesting. We'll see if we gain any benefits from that one. Of course, in the past, it's gotten us all the way to Q3, where we should have been at the back of the grid. I don't know. We haven't had any situations where we're near the front of the grid and have had rain in qualifying as of yet. So can that put us on pole? Possibly. I think that's going to depend mostly on what happens in Q3. Usually it's just Q1 and Q2 that are impacted. I haven't seen much wet weather on Q3 for some reason. Q1 final seconds and our laps are underway. Of course, that new tactic of we're going to save that set of tires and wait till the end. So one shot only, and this is that first time of seeing our representative pace. So I have a feeling it's pretty good, even with things turned down. At times we were only a second off the pace and ahead of Aston Martin, ahead of Haas. As we come across, not great, just P12 and P13 is all we managed. Half a second off. It's a close field. It's a close field, but that's a little worrying that's all we managed to do. Beginning of Q2, and we have 2.6 millimeters worth of water on track, and it looks like that's going to hold pretty steady for the next about 7 minutes or so. It will slowly decline. At the end of the session, it'll be a little bit more than what it is, but it looks like our best window, which, by the way, we're up to what is it, like 90% accuracy now on our weather forecast. This seems the best time to be out on track and not at the end of the session. I mean, track rubber is going to hold pretty steady. Track grip, anyway, is going to hold pretty steady throughout. So a little less rain. We get our laps underway, and Ricciardo and Verstappen both get on our way. That's going to impact times. You can see Pourchaire losing 7/10 of a second. He is well off the pace, so is Ocon for that matter. But in Pourchaire's case, that is grounds to get back out there. Well, we know when to get back out there, right? Moment just P13, P14. As we cross the line, Pourchaire goes P4, Albon goes P4. So that's 4 and 5 right now, but there's a lot of guys off the pace here. So you would expect better times as we go forward. If we can get around, we'll put on a fresh set and give it one more go, as I don't think we're a given for Q3, at least based on the timing from Q1. Track has dried out a little bit more here and is continuing to dry out some. It picked up a little bit. Maybe we were out there at the right time. 2 minutes to go in the session. 9 cars out there. That's not everybody. I think we could make a quick change and get back out there. Maybe. No, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Not in that time frame. Yeah, there's no time to get ready. Norris, the first one, goes up to P3, so that's already down a spot. We're looking at 9 more drivers out there on track. So there's at least 3 that will not improve their times. Ocon, Vettel, Zhou, Sainz, Bottas, all behind us. We're through. We are through. We did go. We went at the right time. We went at the right time when the track was at its driest. It's starting to dry out again here right at the end, but it wasn't enough to really improve times for a lot of these guys. And we do see Q3. Q3 is going to be dry. Q3 always seems to be dry. Hamilton is the only car in front of us that's going to be an issue. I think Pourchaire might have got around him at a clean time. I do think Albon got around at a clean time, but Albon is a few tenths off. Pourchaire's time is definitely representative. I think he's in about the right place. Now, of course, I utilized the used set for the first run. Everybody else is going out on a fresh set. Now, I know I have 3 fresh sets, but I want to save those for the race. If possible, we're expecting a dry race. I'm trying to leave my options open, so we will use a fresh set for the final run. At the moment, it's only P9 and P10, but I do think we can go up, at least ahead of Alonso. Ricciardo, maybe, but that might be about it. Mercedes has really good pace here. But we definitely don't want to wait too long, as yes, track grip's going to get a little bit better, but track traffic would get bad if we waited too long here. Pourchaire getting his lap underway. He's been a little bit quicker than Albon all race weekend, not by the quarter-second gap that they have here. That was a traffic-related one. But how much better can we get our times? We've been about 6/10 off the pace all race weekend. Well, all qualifying. We wouldn't know about all race weekend. Going that little bit later than everybody else. Track's drier, faster, rubbering in, so maybe, just maybe, that can help us. The fresh tires now can definitely help us. Depends on what everybody else did. Did they go with another fresh set, or did they use the same tires once again? This could be different than other qualifying sessions. Verstappen, provisional pole. Leclerc does not better. Nobody's bettering their times. No one is bettering their times. And Alonso, that benchmark 0.785 looks like I think he is this car. He's the furthest one down the road. He is. He's the only alpha. So he's already done. He is already done. So Porsche, what can we do? How much can we improve by? Enough to get within 1 millisecond of Russell. What about Albon? 7 1/1000ths slower. That close to beating Russell. That close. But P8, P9, it's definitely not bad. And it is still just about 0.6 of a second off the pace. So we do not quite have the pace to compete with, well, really the front 5 this race week. And Norris, maybe, just maybe we can keep up with Ricardo, Russell. We can definitely keep up with them. I think we're in for a battle for anywhere from 6th to 9th or even, lower. And with a dry race, we're not expecting any strategic bonuses.
The time has come for these drivers to fight it out wheel to wheel. Race day has arrived.
Qualifying went well for Williams, as attested by their strong position on the grid. Now it's all about finding that edge for the race itself. We saw a reasonably good qualifying performance from Ferrari, and they certainly have a good chance to capitalize during the race. And the race will be taking place under blue skies. That means the teams should be able to apply their strategies without any added complications.
Exciting choices lie ahead then for the teams and their drivers here in Melbourne. So let's see what happens.
One stopper looks like it would be a little slow here, so two stopper seems the way to go. It's going to be in the dry. This is the track that generally spreads out a bit more. I think we are going to have to rely on that DRS a little more often than what we have done at other times, over the past season. But I think we'll be okay. I think this will help give us a pretty good pace advantage. I have noticed that the typical run, especially if you're trying that one stopper, is going to lead to some definitely slow times at the end of the first and final stint. So we could find ourselves in the final laps of this race in particular, really making up a lot of ground. We'll see if that actually is the case. I'm also going to go neutral on the fuel, just kind of running cautiously, carefully through the first stint, not worrying about track position too much, as long as we're holding, around anywhere from P6 to P9. As long as we're in that window, I think we will be just fine.
It's sunny and bright as the drivers line up on the grid. Looking at the Williams now. They might not be in the top 3 spots, but things could change fast once the race gets underway. And then we've got Alex Albon. Not as close to the front as they might have wished for, but we know the race order can change a lot during those first few corners. Everything's been building to this. Get ready for the Australian Grand Prix. And it's lights out and away we go.
And we are racing. I do not want to linger too long here in this status. We want to try to get ourselves in place. Porsche has a battle on his hand to keep 9th place as Ocon had a good getaway on the start. Ocon's on the hard compound too. Come on. Who else is opting for Ocon's the first one on track. Now, some of these guys are going to go medium hard though. We're going to definitely be pitting that bit sooner. I wouldn't mind driving a little more cautiously in the first stint and going, a lap later or something. Albon getting around Hamilton, by the way.
Good job, good job.
So his push is working out to his advantage at the moment.
And there's an overtake from Williams.
Okay, back off.
But Porsche is already in space. Let's go ahead and settle in for him.
Leave core increase,
Albon with that early gain. Now remember, we are essentially as fast, if not faster, than Mercedes. But Mercedes has been fast at this track because of the high-speed corners, and that is their strong suit. So track specific, they are expected to have a pretty good race weekend here. Alright, I do not think we're going to make another overtake at the moment. Let's kind of hold off, wait for DRS. So we will settle in at least for a lap here. As we already went a little bit deeper, but again, that's okay. Fastest lap on lap 1 there for Albon, so he makes a lot of progress with that early push. So for the moment, I don't want to use engine up much at all. I want to save that for later on in the race. If anything, we will use the tires a little bit more, knowing that we are going to make that 2-stopper anyway. We do want to see that field stretched. ERS, of course, is always an option. It's not as bad as it used to be for us to try to recover ERS and refill that battery. But we are 2 seconds ahead of Sainz, it looks like. So we've got a nice gap behind Porsche. That could be really good in trying to run away with things. He is struggling to keep up at the moment, though. Sainz has also left Ocon behind, so he's in no man's land in 10th.
Good.
Porsche sets fastest lap. A lot of that was a DRS help. And Leclerc, the leader. We are in train with him. Behind us, field's a bit more spread out. I mean, we're looking at a 4-second advantage over Sainz. Vettel somehow has gotten close. Leclerc going down the order from the race lead. Leclerc locks up and drops from P1 to P19. Ouchie for that one. Big time ouchie. Albon is struggling to keep up a little bit. Albon, put that foot down. Another mistake from Leclerc. He is now spun on the same lap, I think. Spins it, locks up at 3, and then spins
There's been a crash
at the end of the lap. And it's been clear from lap 1 that we are struggling to keep up with these guys a little bit, and I don't think we're going to get DRS, or do we? There's the detections. No, that was not the detection zone. That was the flap open line. That was the actual DRS line. Albon just set the fastest lap, even without DRS. So even pushing, he doesn't have the pace of the guys ahead. 1.3. I think we're going to have to probably let Hamilton get through and see if he can claw us back up that way. Norris is the race leader. How did the McLaren get so fast all of a sudden? Hamilton unable to get by, so his pace isn't great. I think Russell just happens to be staying in the slipstream a little better than we are. We are holding the gap to Sainz and Vettel. It's about the same. We're opening the gap to Ocon and those behind, but we are slowly losing those front guys now, 2.5 seconds down. Very slowly, though. We've only lost 1 second in, I don't know, 3 laps. We're losing about 0.3 of a second per lap, but that's Albon pushing, and that's why. He's pushing a little bit harder, using those tires a little bit faster. And meanwhile, Porsche is stretching the life quite easily. And that really goes to show the difference that DRS makes. Porsche is driving light versus aggressive. I mean, 2 steps below, and they are right there together. Porsche is definitely extending, still at 59%, as Albon goes right back past Hamilton. So for us, DRS is very powerful. For him, definitely not as much. Actually, Pourchaire also looks like he's getting passed. Where are we at on tire wear for these guys? Hamilton's still at 60. They're pitting now, though. And Sainz, Vettel, Stroll all in. Okay, Sector 2 was actually green, so that was still a decent lap time. Albon from behind. Now, of course, he is driving aggressive, but Hamilton's going to stay out yet again. We're going to tuck in behind. No DRS for either one. That's odd. And Albon peels off into the pits, and Pourchaire is fine on his positioning. In fact, he's challenging the Mercedes. I'm still trying to extend, not get out front. Go standard out front. Let him get past. 2.8. Slow stop for Albon.
And a new position, just gained by Williams.
Pourchaire. Yeah, that was the overtake. Currently P3. 9 seconds down, though. So, that 1.5 second, that became 2.5 seconds. That's grown. It's grown by 7 more seconds over the last. How many laps has that been? 11. So Sainz is already pit. He's behind Albon, but only a couple seconds down. I'm wondering if we do want to drive medium or drive aggressive continually here. I think we might. And there goes Hamilton into the pits. Half a second to Bottas. Yeah, he's starting to lose some pace here. He hasn't fallen off the cliff,
Mercedes
but
moved up a place.
It's getting bad. Hamilton overtaking Albon. So those two are still neck and neck, it looks like. Not terrible lap times here, but definitely not great lap times for Pourchaire. But he's not, not far off those times. And if he's not far off those times and able to extend here, the longer he can extend, the more he might actually make that one stopper, the alternative strategy, work. I don't know what lap we would have needed to pit by, though, to make that one work. But it's lap 23. We're looking at 35 to go. We've been on the mediums for 23 laps. If we can get 2 to 3 more laps here without major pace dropping off, I mean, if we only lose 6 seconds in terms of pace, and then, later on with the hards, if we lose 6 seconds, that's 12. We're losing less than that by saving a pit stop. Albon currently P11, by the way, and second and a half behind Hamilton. Albon overtakes Sainz. Okay, that's Sainz trying to overtake him, really. It's the other way around. Sainz is caught up. I think we can squeeze one more, though. We'll squeeze one more. We're at 32%. Yeah, see, well, that's Perez getting past Bottas, but that's Perez now starting to close us down. Second closer. All right, now's the time. They say they'll go 46 laps, and we are looking to do 33. 13 spare laps. Meanwhile, the expected, right, for Albon was, 18 to 41. So we're talking about 23 laps is it. And, you're looking at least, here's 5 more. So there's 28. I think you're 31 or 32 is where you're going to get down to about 30%. There's that separation, right? He was just behind Albon. Now he's 6 seconds back. We gotta go standard from the off, though. He does have some fuel to burn. But he lost 5.5 seconds. 5.5 seconds running. How many extra laps? I'm liking Pourchaire's chance in this race. I'm liking the one stopper right now, but you got to be super cautious. Make it last.
It's a race position gained for Mercedes.
That is Vettel behind us. Hamilton and Albon back together again. Hamilton held up by Schumacher and Sainz. Well, Sainz has gone through okay. And then Schumacher holding up the show.
And a new position.
That's what it's there
just
for.
gained by Williams.
Porsche re-overtaking Vettel. That's fine. As long as those two yo-yo and pull each other forward a little bit, thanks to DRS, and not hold each other up. Speaking of holding each other up, Schumacher's definitely holding Albon up at the moment. Right now, surprises. 2 McLarens and Ocon running with the front runners. Albon did get around Schumacher there. We've now got to try to close up as Bottas and Ocon both pit. Okay, that's part of the reason why those two were up there. If they had not pit, they started on the hard compound. They pit now with 25 laps to go. So they just made it 33 laps, and that's what we need to do. So we have done essentially what was necessary. I'm not sure Albon's going to catch back up to these guys. Bottas just went past. So Bottas is going to be coming up fast on Porsche, I think. But can he lead us forward? Porsche on that 83%, looking good. Meanwhile, Porsche on those fresher tires has actually recovered ground on Albon. Plus, you know, there was that whole Mick Schumacher thing. So now there's only 3 seconds between them. And Albon's going to end up pitting fairly soon. Now he'll have the mediums that go faster, but Porsche's race is definitely looking better. Bottas flying through, though. Norris pits. 16 laps to go. 39%.
Alpha Tauri gained a place.
Porsche got around Albon, by the way. We need to get off these hards. They are really slow, and then Porsche spins. I would have been okay if it was Albon that spun, but it's Porsche. Porsche just spun coming off the final corner. I was behind the
That's a spin.
Behind the fencing.
We can
but
take a look now. Let's have a look. Now we see the Williams here.
Just lost it.
Oh, dear,
That shows the same angle that I saw.
The car's just
But
gone.
yeah, he just lost it. Got on the gas too early.
And the team had
Lost the
such
rear
high
end.
hopes today.
Well, that's terrible. Porsche, he just ruined his own race. He's all the way down to P16 from, let's see, how much ground has he lost? We were Norris, Perez, Bottas area. We were ahead of Guan Yu Zhou. He lost 20 seconds before rejoining the track. In fact, Albon's only 7 seconds behind us.
You can afford to drop back.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that just happened. Porsche, go fuel up. Catch these guys in front of you. You're just a couple seconds behind them. Get that toe. Boy, Albon in 17th has miles behind him to P18. There's definitely some traffic ahead of us that can be caught. I think we're going to go from a comfortable P7 to now not finishing in the points today. I don't think we're going to get back up there. Porsche is closing up on Alonso now. Quite quickly, actually. He goes back through again. Vettel's caught up. Albon is catching up.
And a new
So
position.
he'll be in that
just
train
gained
soon
by
enough.
Williams.
Lap 52, by the way. Porsche at 48%. He's going to start losing some pace. Everything below 50. So there goes Porsche, Albon right on through to P14. Go
Williams
balanced.
there gaining several places in one go.
Yep. Double overtake. Gets Vettel and gets Pourchaire. And we want Pourchaire to try to keep up with Albon as Albon leads forward. Getting ahead of Vettel, but not getting DRS. So then Vettel creeps back up and they battle on. And we are catching those guys now, but it's not for points, as it starts with P11. It starts with Leclerc. Leclerc is leading this group. There's the spare fuel that Pourchaire had, but he does have
Increase, please.
he does have ERS, but he doesn't have much tire life, so he's going to struggle to go forward.
Remember, overtake is available. Currently, 3 laps remaining of the race.
All we have to do is get up beside him. I think the tires can do the rest. I think he's on the hard and definitely on in a slower car. We tuck back in again. Multiple cars have crashed. It's ahead of us. Safety cars coming out. Oh, 3 cars wiped out in our favorite spot where we saw all those crashes last year, where we got the podium. Oh my gosh, I remember that now. There was only 11, 12 cars that finished. So we're up to P12, and now we got, Schumacher, Leclerc, Gasly ahead with potential overtakes. But it's lap 57. It's lap 57. We're not going to get a restart in. So that's going to be it. It's P12, P14. Verstappen, Perez, 1-2. Norris on the podium with Mercedes sandwich. And then Bottas, Hamilton, yeah. Ricardo drops to P7, so at least there's that. But McLaren scoring really well right now. Ferrari not scoring very well. At least there's that, because I do think that's one of the teams we're really going to be competing with this season. If Pourchaire does not make his mistake, he's somewhere up around P6 on this one. Albon, the 2-stopper, absolutely did not work out. How many people went for the 1-stopper? Verstappen, Russell, Bottas, Hamilton, Schumacher, Leclerc, Gasly. So we finish as the rules state under safety car in P12 and P14. No points on the day. Not a terrible race, but definitely not a good one. I was always stating that we're not quite there yet. We might be, 3rd or 4th best right now, but we're certainly just barely ahead of the midfield. So it's not that unusual to have some struggles. Albon, his struggle with strategy. Pourchaire, we made the right strategy call, but then he spun and cost himself 20 seconds. And that was all the difference. All the difference. That was the difference between finishing in, P6 or P7 versus finishing in P14. That is going to do it for this episode, though. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there, and bye for now.